Globalization is a shrinking of the world. It happens when countries start to interact with each other and become familiar. The expansion of a country's power and influence is called imperialism. But how did we get here to imperialism? Everything started at something called Reformation and then continued on from there. Reformation is a process of bringing about change in an institution, or in this case, the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church believed that justification is by grace through faith because of Christ. However, they did not believe that justification is by grace alone, through faith alone, and because of Christ alone. According to Rome, justification is through indulgences and good works. The one voice that rose up against this was a monk and professor at the University of Wittenberg. His name was Luther, and he believed humans could never do enough good works to earn salvation, instead could be saved through their faith in God. Luther's ideas was called justification by faith alone, thus becoming the main teaching of the Protestant Reformation. It is faith alone, he said, and not good works, that justifies and brings salvation through Christ. Conflicts regarding the church made people begin to question what was right and wrong. Because of this, change was coming, and society was reborn again into Renaissance. The Renaissance was a revival of art and literature under the influence of classical models in the 14th to 16th centuries. The word Renaissance means rebirth. People who lived in Italy between 1350 and 1550 believed that they witnessed a rebirth of urban society. It was also a recovery from the plague, political instability, and decline of the church power that happened in the 14th century. This revival affected both politics and art. A new view of human beings emerged when people started emphasizing individual ability. People realized human worth and what individual ability could achieve. For example, Leonardo da Vinci was a painter, sculptor, architect, inventor, and mathematician. However, mostly the higher and wealthier class of people were affected by this new idea and activities. A key movement of the Renaissance was humanism. Humanism was based on the study of the classics, the literary works of ancient Greece and Rome. Humanists studied grammar, rhetoric, poetry, moral philosophy, and history. During the Renaissance, since it was a time of increased interest in art and learning, people invented more adequate things for exploration, such as maps and navigation tools. This way, explorers had an easier time using these improved tools rather than the inadequate ones used previously.
Exploration was when Europe traveled across the vast sea to discover new and uncharted territory. God, glory, and gold were the chief motives for European exploration. Christopher Columbus believed the earth was round. He believed he could reach Asia by sailing west instead of around Africa. In October 1842, he reached the Americas and explored the coast of Cuba. As explorers settled in Americas, they started to produce their own materials in which they traded. They started something called the triangular trade. European merchant ships carried European goods, like guns, to Africa, where they were traded for slaves. The slaves were shipped to America and put to work. European merchants would then buy the goods produced in America and ship them back to Europe. The exploration took the people to new areas where they found new cultures. When they saw these new cultures, they thought of expanding and improving upon their own. This led to the Cultural Revolution.
The Cultural Revolution was a series of events that changed the culture of European society. Many of these dramatic changes had to do with the style of art. A new style of art, called Baroque, tried to bring together classical ideas of Renaissance art and spiritual feelings of the 16th century. This style of art was greatly desired by the church. Some figures of the Baroque period were Bernini, Caravaggio, and Gentileschi. The Baroque style was known for its use of dramatic effects to arouse the emotions. Though much of this revolution had to do with art, much of it was political thought as well. Two men in particular had some interesting theories. Thomas Hobbes believed before society was organized, human life was solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. John Locke believed that before society was organized, humans had natural rights and freedom and equality. Cultural Revolution opened numerous doors in the minds of Europeans. They had many questions about the world with no answers. The answers to the questions came during the Scientific Revolution.
The scientific revolution was the dawning of modern science during the early modern period, when developments in mathematics, physics, astronomy, biology, medicine, and chemistry transformed views of society and nature. Many developments encouraged new ways of thinking. This led explorers to search for scientific discoveries instead of wealth and glory. For example, scientists like Ptolemy constructed a model of the universe that was later known as the Ptolemaic system. This geocentric system placed the Earth at the center of the universe. Scientists such as Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo, and Newton set the Western world on a new path in the scientific revolution. Galileo confirmed the heliocentric universe and tied laws of planetary motion to the Earth. Scientists like Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo, and Newton set the Western world on a new path in the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution brought new ideas to light and inspired philosophers to think differently, thus leading to enlightenment.
The Enlightenment was a cultural movement by philosophers which began in Europe and later in the Americas. They hoped that by using the scientific method, it would progress towards a better society than the one that they had inherited. Common words to the thinkers of the Enlightenment were reason, natural law, hope, and progress. All these people wanted one thing, and that was change. John Locke believed that everyone was born with a blank mind. He thought that people were formed and made by their experiences that came through their senses from the things happening and surrounding them in the world. Therefore, if they changed the environment and were exposed to the right things and influences, then the society would become better, thus making the people better. Isaac Newton believed that the physical world and everything in it was like a giant machine. He believed that this world machine operated according to natural laws. Other Enlightenment thinkers believed if Newton could find these natural laws, then everyone could follow them to result in an ideal society. With the idea of Enlightenment changing the world, people wanted to put their ideas into a government form so they could improve politics. This led to the political revolution.
The political revolution was an upheaval in which the government was replaced or altered. The revolution started when the British leaders wanted new revenues from the colonies so that they could be used to pay for war costs. After all this happened, in 1775, fighting erupted between colonists and British armies. After a year of war, the colonies declared independence from the British and became their own nation. When building the nation, the Declaration of Independence was written, which started the American Revolution. A federal system was created and separated power throughout the government equally. The Bill of Rights was also created, and that would lead to a new age and a better world in the future. With the new leaders, structure, and ideas in politics, industry was able to make a breakthrough. Because industry would be the next benefit for civilizations, the revolution changed from political to industrial revolution.
The Industrial Revolution was known as the rapid development of industry in Britain in the late 18th and 19th centuries, which was brought about by the introduction of machinery. An agrarian revolution beginning in the 1700s changed agricultural practices. With the increased food supply, the population grew. Britain also had a ready supply of money to invest on the new machines and factories. With these new machines and factories, natural resources were needed, which Britain had. The production of inexpensive cotton goods had taken off in the 18th century, known as the cotton industry. The steam engine was crucial to Britain's Industrial Revolution. The success of the steam engine increased the need for coal and led to an expansion of coal production. Another important form of transportation important to the Industrial Revolution were railroads. The Industrial Revolution also spread through Europe and North America. Since the Industrial Revolution introduced the use of machinery, people learned to use the machines to their benefit and expand their borders. This led to imperialism, which did not have the best impact on natives who were invaded by foreigners.
Imperialism is the policy of extending a country's power and influence through the diplomacy or military force. An increase in population, wealth, and industrial production demanded more resources. Since early 19th century, America gradually came to regard the Hawaiian Islands. American sugar planters saw annexation as it would eliminate tariffs. U.S. received Pacific island of Guam, which they had captured early in the war. U.S. also gained Puerto Rico, the last vestige of Spain's American Empire. In the first half of the century, Britain acquired key trading posts in Singapore, Aden, and Hong Kong, annexed New Zealand and Natal, and steadily strengthened its position in India, as well as establishing a daunting commercial position in Latin America. Native Americans did not benefit much after the European settlers arrived. 500 years of oppression, victimization, and discrimination had begun. Indigenous people were treated as second-class citizens in their own land. A feeling of superiority and entitlement kept the imperialist nations from even considering whether the native people had a right to own and govern their own land. Colonizers infringed upon the political systems and cultural values, including religion and language, of the colonized. Imperialism also exploited the labor and natural resources of the native indigenous people and continues to have a lasting impact upon the colonized nations today. In conclusion, globalization has made the world smaller. It has impacted the people of the world by exposing each other to different beliefs, religions, and cultures. These assorted groups of people have come together to share and familiarize themselves with the diverse characteristics of each other around the world.